Sometimes I look at all of the things I have in my craft room, like a wealth of fabric and thread, unfinished projects, and I just think about how it really all started. I learned to sew when I was in elementary school, and my mom showed me everything. And looking back on it, I'm surprised she really even let me use the sewing machine at that age. So while I color this cozy sewing room page, I thought I'd take you back to some of those earlier days and how sewing became a part of my life even as an adult. I still remember my mom teaching me those first few times. The first project she let me make was an apron. For some reason, I wanted to make an apron. So it was an apron that you pulled over your head, and then it had a front and a back on it, and then it tied at your waist. And I remember picking out the fabric at a local store. It was around Valentine's Day, so I wanted red and white and hearts. So we picked out the fabric. She showed me how to do the patterns and how to cut the fabric out. And I wasn't the best sewer because I was just starting out, but she ended up, I think, sewing most of it for me. But she had this sewing box that was plastic, I remember, and it was like a burnt orange color. It had all kinds of threads in it, all kinds of supplies, scissors. And that was just the box that always come out, and it meant it was sewing time when you saw that box. In fourth grade, I entered 4-H. So I was in 4-H, fourth and fifth grade, and we didn't have a lot of people in our school group that actually wanted to be in 4-H. Back then, you had to pick a project to work on as your project for that school year. So I ended up picking clothing and sewing as my project. I even entered a competition that year, not really understanding what was happening at that age, but I was so nervous. We had to make a book on things that we had worked on, sewing items and projects, and I remember this book was fairly thick. It was a few inches thick, and I had spent a lot of time doing that book, but my mom also helped, of course. So when competition day came, we packed up our little project book, and it ended up going off to the state capitol, I believe, at that time. And I remember thinking it wasn't really anything, but somehow I ended up winning best in state, and I got a plaque for my project book. So I was quite tickled when that happened, and I remember getting the plaque, and my mom was extra excited that I had won, which just made her push me to do many more things to see if I could win. But by the time I got to middle school, we had sewing classes. That was just part of our school program at that time, and everyone else was just starting to learn how to sew. And here I was, I already knew how to sew, I knew how to read patterns, cut fabric out. So I was a little bit of ahead of the rest of the people in school. Now, our first project was not using a sewing machine in school. I remember they had these little kits to make a pillow, and we chose which animal we wanted, and I remember choosing a monkey, I think. All the pieces were already cut out for us, and all we had to do was sit there and hand sew the pieces on, and we had this little pillow that was probably just about 12 inches long. but I remember making it and being so tickled when I finished it because I had to sew it by hand. My mom taught me to sew, and then she had an aunt that taught her how to sew. So it sort of runs in the family, I guess you could say. We all love to sew. So, did any of you grow up sewing? Did your mom or your grandmother teach you? Or maybe you don't know how to sew at all. What's your favorite hobby to do if you don't sew? Maybe you're learning one now and you're just trying to figure out things now as an adult. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this coloring page with you and a little bit of my sewing world. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.